I never expected the new neighbor across the hall to change my life, but the night he got locked out and slept in my room, everything crossed a line I could never take back, and I didn't even try to stop it. Jason Miller had lived in Seattle for almost 2 years, but somehow the city still felt lonely. At 24, he worked long shifts editing videos for a small sports media company downtown. Every morning looked the same. Coffee, train rides, noise, cold apartment walls, silence. His apartment building in Capitol Hill wasn't terrible, but nobody really talked to each other. People rushed in and out like strangers passing through an airport, until the new neighbor moved in. It happened on a warm Friday evening in early October. Jason came home carrying grocery bags when he noticed someone struggling with boxes outside apartment 4B. The guy looked around his age. Tall, light brown hair, slightly messy from the move. Gray hoodie rolled up at the sleeves. The kind of posture that showed he'd been lifting furniture all day. One cardboard box suddenly gave way. Books spilled across the hallway floor. Serious now? The stranger muttered under his breath. Jason let out a small laugh, without meaning to, and immediately stepped forward. Looks like those boxes gave up on you, he said, crouching down to help. The stranger glanced at him, surprised at first, then smiled. Yeah, they betrayed me on day one, he replied. Jason picked up a few books and handed them over. That's rough. I'm Ryan, the guy said after a moment. Jason. Their handshake lingered just a second longer than normal. Not obvious. Not awkward, just noticeable. You just moved in? Jason asked. Yeah, yesterday. Still trying to figure out where everything goes. Jason nodded. Welcome to the building. Fair warning, elevator breaks at least once a week, and the heater only works when it feels like it. Ryan laughed softly. That sounds comforting in a chaotic way. Yeah, you'll get used to it, Jason said, smiling. For a second, neither of them moved away. Ryan looked at him like he was trying to memorize something simple. A face in a crowd that didn't feel like a crowd anymore. Thanks for the help, Ryan finally said. No problem. They parted ways, but something small stayed behind in the air between them. Over the next few days, Jason kept seeing him. In the hallway, at the mailbox, near the elevator that kept breaking exactly as warned. At first it was just polite greetings. Then it became short conversations. Then it became something Jason started looking forward to without realizing it. Ryan turned out to be a freelance photographer. He talked about city shoots, late-night events, and chasing light through places most people ignored. He showed Jason photos on his phone sometimes, quiet shots of Seattle streets glowing under streetlights, people caught in moments they didn't even know were being captured. Jason didn't say it out loud, but he started noticing how easy it was to be around him. Too easy. One night, Jason came home exhausted after work and found Ryan sitting outside his apartment door. Back against the wall, a pizza box beside him. Jason stopped walking. Are you okay? Ryan looked up with a tired smile. I locked myself out. Jason blinked once. How long? About an hour. Jason shook his head slightly, trying not to laugh. That's impressive. I try my best, Ryan said. Jason unlocked his door and stepped aside. Come in. Maintenance won't come until morning anyway. Ryan stood, grabbed the pizza box, and followed him inside without hesitation. Neither of them knew it yet, but that moment quietly changed everything. Jason's apartment wasn't anything special. Small living room, slightly worn couch, a kitchen that barely separated from the hallway. But when Ryan stepped inside, it somehow felt different. Less empty than usual. Ryan looked around and smirked a little. You weren't kidding about the space. Jason closed the door behind them. Yeah, luxury living. Ryan dropped on a couch like he had done it 100 times before. Comfortable, natural, like he belonged there. Jason noticed it immediately and tried to ignore how easily that thought came to him. You hungry? Jason asked, heading toward the kitchen. Ryan lifted the pizza box. Already handled. Jason chuckled. Fair. A few minutes later, they were sitting side by side, eating and watching a random action movie Jason had picked without really paying attention. The TV played in the background, but neither of them was actually focused on it. Instead, they talked about work, about growing up in different cities, about embarrassing teenage phases they both immediately regretted mentioning. Ryan leaned back against the couch. I used to think moving would fix everything. Jason glanced at him. Did it? Ryan paused. Not everything, but it made space for new things. Something in the way he said it made Jason quiet for a second. Jason nodded slowly. Yeah, I get that. The room settled into a comfortable silence. Not awkward, not forced, just present. After a while, Ryan spoke again, softer this time. I came out of a long relationship before moving here. Jason turned slightly toward him. Oh, yeah, 3 years, Ryan said, staring at the TV but clearly not watching it. Thought it was permanent. Jason didn't respond right away. He could hear something unspoken in Ryan's voice. Not sadness exactly, but memory. Still think about it? Jason asked carefully. Ryan shrugged. Sometimes. Not in I want it back way. More like, I miss who I was back then. Jason nodded once. That makes sense. A quiet pause followed. Then Ryan finally looked at him. Really looked at him. What about you? Ryan asked. Jason hesitated. He wasn't used to talking about himself like this. Not fully. Not honestly. I've dated, Jason said. Nothing serious. Ryan raised an eyebrow slightly. By choice. Jason let out a short laugh. Not exactly. Their eyes met for a second longer than needed. Something shifted in the air. Jason felt it first, that strange awareness like the room had gotten smaller without moving. Ryan looked away first, but not quickly. After that night, things changed in ways neither of them acknowledged out loud. Ryan started showing up more often. Not planned, not scheduled, just appearing. Coffee in hand. Music recommendations. Random knock on Jason's door like it was the most normal thing in the world. And Jason, despite himself, never told him to stop. One evening, Ryan came over after a photography job, still wearing a black hoodie and carrying his camera bag. His hair was slightly damp from the cold outside. I need help, Ryan said, stepping inside. Jason looked up from his laptop. With what? Ryan held up 2 jackets he had clearly just bought. Which one says, I have my life together, but also I don't actually have my life together. Jason laughed before he could stop himself. That's a very specific requirement. I'm serious, Ryan said, walking closer. Jason stood up, examining them. Ryan stood right next to him while he compared the jackets. Too close. Jason could smell faint cologne and cold air from outside. This one, Jason said after a moment, touching the darker one. Ryan nodded slowly. Good choice. Neither of them moved away immediately. The silence stretched. Ryan's gaze flicked down for a brief second. Jason noticed. His breath caught slightly, but he didn't step back. Then a car horn blasted outside, breaking the moment in half. Both of them shifted at the same time. Ryan cleared his throat. So, movie tonight? Jason exhaled. Yeah, sure. But even while picking a movie later that night, Jason couldn't stop thinking about that pause. Because it didn't feel accidental anymore. It felt like something waiting to happen. Days passed after that moment in the kitchen, but neither Jason nor Ryan ever mentioned it. They acted normal. Almost too normal. Like 2 people carefully stepping around something fragile sitting in the middle of the room. But the tension didn't disappear. It just followed them quietly. Ryan still showed up at Jason's apartment like it was his second home. Coffee in hand. Easy smile. Casual jokes. But now there were moments, small, unplanned pauses, where their eyes would meet and neither of them would speak first. Jason started noticing things he shouldn't have been noticing. The way Ryan leaned against door frames. The way he laughed a little softer when it was just the 2 of them. The way he looked at Jason for half a second too long before looking away. It made Jason restless in a way he didn't fully understand. One Friday night, Ryan came over after a photography event downtown. He looked tired in a quiet way, like the kind of exhaustion that didn't come from work alone. His hoodie was slightly damp from the cold outside, and his hair was messy from running his fingers through it. He dropped onto Jason's couch with a long sigh. Rough night, Jason asked, closing the door behind him. Ryan nodded, staring up at the ceiling. People don't realize how much energy it takes to pretend you're okay all the time. Jason paused at that. Then he walked over and handed him a bottle of water. Yeah, Jason said quietly. I get that. Their fingers brushed for a second when Ryan took it. Neither of them reacted, but both of them felt it. The apartment was dim, lit only by a lamp in the corner and the city lights slipping through the window. Outside, Seattle looked calm. Inside, everything felt anything but calm. They sat on a couch, close but not touching. A movie played on low volume, forgotten within minutes. Ryan turned his head slightly. You ever feel like something is about to change, but you don't know if you should stop it or let it happen? Jason looked at him. The question felt too specific, too real. Yeah, Jason admitted after a moment. All the time. Ryan nodded slowly like that was the answer he needed. Silence settled again, but it wasn't comfortable this time. It was heavy, charged, like the air before a storm that hasn't started yet. Ryan shifted slightly closer. Jason didn't move away. I think. Ryan started, then stopped. Jason waited. Ryan swallowed. I think meeting you messed up my balance a little. Jason let out a quiet breath, almost a laugh. Same. That honesty changed something between them instantly. Ryan turned fully toward him now. Jason did the same without thinking. They were close enough that Jason could see the small details he usually tried not to notice. The softness in Ryan's expression when he wasn't trying to hide it. The way his breathing slowed when he was nervous. Jason, Ryan said quietly. Jason's voice came out lower than he expected. Yeah. Ryan hesitated. Just 1 second. Then he reached out. His hand touched Jason's first. Careful, unsure at first. Then slowly laced their fingers together like he'd been waiting weeks to do it. Jason didn't stop him. He couldn't. The world outside the window didn't matter anymore. Ryan's thumb brushed lightly over Jason's knuckles, almost like he was testing if this was real. Jason's chest tightened. Is this okay? Ryan asked softly. Jason nodded once. Yeah, that was all it took. Ryan leaned in slowly, giving Jason every chance to pull away. Jason didn't. The kiss was soft at first, careful, almost uncertain, like both of them were still afraid it might break something invisible. But it didn't break anything. It fixed something they didn't even know was broken. Jason's hand moved instinctively to Ryan's hoodie, gripping it slightly as if grounding himself. Ryan's other hand came up to Jason's jaw, holding him like he was something important, something real. The kiss deepened slowly, not rushed, not chaotic, just honest. When they finally pulled back, it was only a few inches. Both of them were breathing differently now. Neither of them spoke. They just looked at each other, like the answer had already been given. Ryan rested his forehead gently against Jason's. I wanted to do that for a long time, he admitted quietly. Jason gave a small, breathless laugh. Yeah, I think I stopped pretending I didn't weeks ago. Ryan smiled faintly, and for the first time, there was no confusion left between them. Only certainty. After that night, nothing between Jason and Ryan stayed the same. But strangely, nothing became complicated either. It became clearer, more real. Ryan didn't stop coming over. If anything, he came more often, but now there was no pretending it was casual. The way he looked at Jason had changed. The way Jason opened the door had changed too, like he already knew who it was before the knock even happened. Still, they didn't rush anything. They just stayed close. Late evenings turned into shared dinners. Shared dinners turned into long talks that went past midnight. And long talks turned into comfortable silence where neither of them felt the need to fill the space. One night, Seattle got hit with a sudden cold front. Wind rattled against the windows, and the temperature dropped fast enough to make the whole building feel colder than usual. Ryan showed up at Jason's door holding a small overnight bag. Jason raised an eyebrow as he opened it. Planning something? Ryan smirked slightly. Power went out of my apartment. Building maintenance said it won't be fixed until morning. Jason stepped aside without hesitation. Sounds tragic. Ryan walked in, kicking off his shoes like he belonged there. Yeah, he said. I might not survive. Jason shook his head, smiling. You'll manage. But neither of them mentioned how easy it was now, how natural it felt. Later, they ended up on the couch first, wrapped in a blanket while the city outside disappeared into darkness. The apartment lights were dim, powered only by a small lamp Jason kept for reading. They watched a movie for a while, but like always, it became background noise. Ryan leaned back, stretching slightly. You ever think about how weird it is, he said quietly, that we started as neighbors? Jason looked at him. Yeah, pretty weird. Ryan turned his head slightly. And now? Jason didn't answer immediately, because now felt bigger than words. He just shrugged lightly. Now it doesn't feel weird anymore. Ryan smiled at that. A comfortable silence followed, but it didn't last long. Ryan shifted closer under the blanket. Not sudden, not obvious, just slowly, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Jason felt it immediately, but didn't move away. Their shoulders touched, then stayed. The air between them changed again. Not tense this time, but warm. Familiar in a way that was becoming dangerous for Jason's self-control. Ryan glanced at him. Can I stay here tonight? Jason gave a small smile. You already are. Ryan let out a quiet laugh. Yeah, I meant properly. Jason understood. He just nodded. Yeah, Jason said softly. Stay. They moved to Jason's bedroom later without much discussion. It didn't feel sudden or forced. It felt like something that had been waiting for the right moment without either of them realizing it. The room was quiet, lit only by faint city glow through the window. Outside, wind moved through Seattle streets. Inside, everything felt still. They lay side by side at first, not touching, just close enough to feel each other's presence. Ryan turned slightly in the dark. Jason, yeah. Are you okay with this? He asked softly. Jason turned his head toward him. Even in the dim light, he could see Ryan's expression, careful, unsure, but honest. Jason nodded once. I'm okay. That was all Ryan needed. He moved closer slowly, resting his hand gently over Jason's. Jason didn't hesitate this time. Their fingers intertwined easily. No pressure, no fear, just trust. Ryan leaned in and kissed him again, but this time was slower, deeper, more certain than before. Jason responded immediately, pulling him closer without thinking about anything else. The world outside the room disappeared completely. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't chaotic. It was quiet in the most emotional way possible. When they finally pulled back, Ryan stayed close, forehead resting against Jason's. Neither of them spoke for a long time, because there was nothing left to question anymore. They had already crossed the line, and neither of them wanted to go back. Months passed in Seattle, and the city started feeling different for Jason. Not because it changed, but because he did. Winter slowly softened into early spring. The freezing nights became less harsh. The streets stayed wet sometimes, but not in a lonely way anymore. Not for him. Ryan's presence became part of Jason's routine without either of them planning it. His jacket by the door, his coffee mug in the kitchen, his voice in the morning asking where Jason hid the sugar again. It stopped feeling like visiting. It started feeling like home. They never really defined anything out loud. They didn't need to, because everything they did already said it. One evening, they walked through downtown Seattle after dinner. The air was cool but comfortable, and the city lights reflected softly on the wet pavement. People passed by them quickly, busy with their own lives. But Jason wasn't in a hurry anymore. Ryan walked beside him, hands in his pockets, glancing around like he was observing the world through a lens, even when he wasn't holding a camera. You know, Ryan said suddenly, I think I like this version of my life. Jason looked at him. This version? Ryan nodded slightly. The one where I don't feel like I'm just passing through. Jason slowed his steps a little. That's new for you? He asked. Ryan gave a small smile. Yeah, I used to feel like I was always leaving places before they became mine. Jason didn't respond right away, because he understood that feeling more than he wanted to admit. They walked in silence for a few seconds. Then Jason spoke quietly. You're not passing through here. Ryan looked at him. Jason kept his eyes forward, but his voice stayed steady. Not anymore. Ryan didn't say anything immediately. He just exhaled slowly, like something inside him had finally settled. Later that night, they were back in Jason's apartment. The same couch, the same dim light, the same city outside the window. But everything felt more grounded now. Ryan was sitting on the floor against the couch, leaning back against Jason's legs while Jason scrolled through his phone. It was quiet, comfortable, normal in a way neither of them took for granted anymore. Ryan tilted his head slightly. Jason, do you ever think about how this started? Jason glanced down at him. You locking yourself out of your apartment? Ryan smiled. Yeah. Jason laughed softly. Kind of hard not to think about it. Ryan shifted slightly, resting his head more comfortably against him. Almost a knock on your door that night. Jason paused. Why did you? Ryan looked up at him for a second. Because you were the first person who didn't treat me like a stranger I had to impress. Jason's expression softened. He put his phone down. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Jason leaned forward and kissed him gently. Not rushed, not intense, just real. Ryan responded immediately, turning slightly to face him more fully, one hand coming up to Jason's arm like it was instinct. When they pulled back, Ryan smiled faintly. You do that a lot now, he said. Jason smirked a little. Complaining? Ryan shook his head. Definitely not. A quiet pause followed, but it wasn't empty. It felt full, of everything they had built without realizing it. Later, as they got ready for bed, Ryan stopped in the hallway and looked back at Jason's apartment like he was seeing it differently. Jason noticed. What? Ryan hesitated, then smiled. Nothing, he said softly. Just thinking. I don't really feel like a neighbor anymore. Jason walked up beside him. Me neither, he said. Ryan looked at him, and this time, there was no hesitation between them, just understanding, because love hadn't arrived loudly for them. It had started with a box of falling books, and quietly turned into a life neither of them wanted to leave.